Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are talking Champions League Leg 2. We're going to try to keep it to the point as much as possible. If you enjoy the video, a thumbs up is deeply appreciated. I'm very excited for Champions League this week. I think we've got a lot to look forward to in both the matchups. I definitely think Inter versus Barcelona is going to have a little more drama. We had a lot of interesting results with the weekend with these club teams, all four left. And we also have a lot of interesting scenarios, especially in the Inter-Barca game with injuries and players coming back or not. A lot of variables and a lot of breaking news. So obviously, we're not going to really know until game time Tuesday and Wednesday with who is playing and who isn't playing. But Tuesday's got a lot of interesting scenarios, especially for Barcelona. We're going to break those down. Obviously, we were treated to a beautiful 3-3 in the first leg of this one, and that was in Spain. And now Barcelona is going to go to Inter, and they're going to have to get a result. They really will. They will have to get a result. You know, what happened over the weekend? Inter Milan was able to rotate a good amount of their players from what I saw. They picked up a 1-0 win for Hellas Verona. I wasn't really sure how Inter Milan was going to do it this weekend because, I still think they're looking at their scenario that they're very much in the league. They didn't rotate everybody, but they did rotate a lot of players, and they got a result, and that keeps them still alive in this race in the Serie A. So, and the Barcelona game, do I even need to speak about this game? Barca goes down 1-0 really early in this game, and, they bring it back. They bring it back. Now, they did end up subbing in a lot of their players pretty early on. They subbed in Yamal. They still ran about a half at least, but they did and were managing to get a little bit of rest and some rotation fitness. Really, the players that will be feeling it the most from this game come to the weekend is going to be Pedri and Araujo and Christensen, and we'll talk about why. But that was a massive win for them because they're heading into a game where they do want to keep that cushion heading into that Real Madrid match next weekend. I will say this, bro. Barcelona is going to give everything in this Inter Milan match on Tuesday. So to the Madrid fans that still want to have a chance for the league, I think you still have a chance for the league. I really do if you get a result against Barcelona next weekend. The fact of the matter is, what this game showed me was that I thought this was a game they may end up dropping. Like when I watched Valladolid, I can't even say it, man. When they scored early, I was like, oh, God, are they about to do this? Because dropping points would be the worst in the world. And Barcelona, for me this year, they have just found a way to just get by. Rafinha contributing and Fermin scoring as well. They really got this one done over the weekend. And so it makes a really interesting storyline as we head into this game because this was a game that, we know that two of their most important players, Lewandowski and Balde, have been out. They were both out in the first leg. And unfortunately for Barcelona, both ways. Lautaro picked up a little injury in the first leg. I can't find too much news on him, but I think he has a chance to play. I'm still looking everywhere for this news. I haven't seen much. But what I have seen is something really interesting when it comes to Lewandowski and Balde, which, I personally was not expecting. So the feeling right now is that Lauti will be available to Barca to play against Barca on Tuesday. Apparently, he's been doing everything, and he has a great will to be there. From what I'm reading from that, he's not 100%. So I don't expect Lautaro Martinez to be at 100%, but I think he's doing enough to be there. This is the report that just came out today, very early this morning, which really surprised me, to be honest. And this is a reliable source from what I have seen and looked back at some tweets about what this guy has been posting. Balde is practically ruled out of the Inter game as his recovery has not gone as expected, while Lewandowski has made a miraculous recovery and will travel to Milan. Now, I'm recording this on a Sunday/Monday. Guys, I'll be honest, it's too tough to know at this point. And a lot of times these coaches and managers will play crazy mind games and do all this stuff with players in and out. The bottom line is some fans are getting really annoyed by this because, Lewandowski, they're cooking him like this. But look, it's the medical staff that decides this stuff at the end of the day. Koundé is going to be out. That's a massive problem because now if Balde doesn't play, they do not have two of their very important starting fullbacks. So I see that as a huge worry for Barca fans. I'm not sure where Balde, apparently Balde posted this on Instagram, and he posted this as well saying confidence. So I don't know what that means. Maybe he is going to play. He was back in training today. This to me, I don't know exactly how they're going to run, but what I'll tell you is this. I'm not sure if Lewandowski is going to start this game. It looks like he's giving everything to be there. I don't know if that's a scenario where they'll start with Ferran Torres. How they've been doing it most of the year, though, is Lewa starts and then Ferran Torres comes in. So maybe Lewa has more limited minutes or he tries it out, and if it's not going well, then he comes off. But obviously that would be massive to have. Even though Ferran Torres has done a lot with contributing for this team. I have seen him come in and step in for Lewandowski. He's been scoring a big El Clasico goal. He's been scoring in big games. They're still missing Lewandowski just for the overall threat that he possesses and the link-up play. We've seen at times where they're really missing that guy to link up the play well. So people are expecting to see some lineup of that measure. We don't know exactly. Look, Barca most of this year has gone with a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. That's really what they have played this season. Pedri and De Jong, you can expect that. And Yamal and Rafinha, you could expect that. But here's where the problem lies, right? They're getting to a situation with the defenders where it's just, they're going to probably have to end up, yes, Araujo can play out wide, but they're going to have to do a makeshift here because not having Koundé, the guy who won you El Clasico, is a big loss. And Balde, I've been saying this all year, that is such a big loss if he doesn't play. And if you're an Inter Milan fan, it's a massive gain for you. Just basing my watch off the first leg, the way I saw it was that Inter Milan executed tactics very well. And it's going to be hard because they will have to do that and more to beat Barcelona, in my opinion. Now, and also with that projected lineup, I don't know. Did that projected lineup have Eric Garcia? Because we could well see Eric Garcia. I don't know if they're going to do that with they could start him. Obviously, from what I have seen from Fort and Martin, I really haven't loved. Maybe they will go with Martin if he's not ready. I don't really know. But let me tell you this. I felt like, yes, this is a huge advantage if you're an Inter Milan fan. Massive advantage, right? Barca's missing some really key players. Lewandowski's not 100%. Yamal on the weekend, yes, he's young, but he had to come in and play 70 minutes. Hopefully those guys got a little rest. Barca's going to give it everything this game. Inter's got the home atmosphere. And just the way that I see it, Barca has been proving people wrong all season at any moment, right? When people are expecting them to drop points, they're not. They're getting things done. And look, I said in the round of 16 that Barcelona and PSG are by far the best teams I have seen in this competition. I'm not going to change where I'm at now. I'm not going to get to this point. Yes, I saw some greatness from Inter Milan, but let's be honest. We saw two incredible corners. I think Barca will make the changes they need to, and I think they'll be playing a bit of a taller lineup. I think they'll be placing in a little bit more height with the defenders, so I expect to have them lock that down a little more. And at the same time as well, the goal we saw from Thuram, the goals we saw from Inter Milan were so good. I just don't know if they're going to replicate that again. I just don't know. Now, I do think Barcelona is going to concede in this game. I think Barcelona will concede. But when we look at the last game they played, yes, we did leave that game feeling like, hey, that was maybe they were unlucky, Inter, to not have that be onside. But I definitely think we're going to see more out of Barcelona on the attack, and I think they will. I think Inter is going to struggle. I think this is going to be a really close game, and I could see this even going to extra time. But I'm not going to bet against Barcelona at this point. I'm just not. And you know what? Yes, Lewandowski, if he's not great, I still have enough confidence that Varane and Firmino can come in and make a difference on the attack for them. I do. So I think Barcelona is going to win this game by a goal. I think it's going to be very close. I don't know if I want to go with 2-1 or 3-2. I just don't know if Inter is going to get to that. Are they going to get 2 goals? Well, they could. And look, in some of the recent games, they've been, against in the Champions League, they've been, the last couple of Champions League games, they scored 3 against Barca, 2 against Bayern in both of those. And then if you go all the way back, they scored 2 against Feyenoord. So they have been scoring 2 goals in the Champions League for a lot of games in a row. I don't even know. I'm going back to January. So I like to go by trends. Boys, I think we may be in for another classic here. I think we may be in for a Barcelona 3-2 victory. I think they will do enough to get it done. I'm going to back them. This could very well go to penalties or something. This is going to be a very close game. If Barcelona had a situation where they had Balde, they had Koundé, they had a healthy Lewandowski, guys, I'm going to be honest. I don't think Inter Milan would have a chance in this one. I think, yes, maybe, they would have a chance, but I still would say I think Barcelona, look, you could say I'm glazing them. I'm not going against them. All right, there's no way they've gotten to this point in the season, and now I'm going to suddenly predict them to not be in the Champions League final, right, and to choke the league, right? They even had a chance to blow it over the weekend, came back, won the game. So I like what I see. Again, Hansi Flick, if he gets to the final, I'm going to be real with you guys. I don't know if I'm betting against him. PSG will be one of his toughest tests he's ever had in a final. If PSG can beat Arsenal, we'll talk about that game in a minute. But again, Hansi Flick, 8 out of 8, and he is a big game manager. He is a big game manager. He knows how to win the big games. If I'm looking at this game manager to manager, I'm putting more stock in Hansi Flick winning, not even looking at the teams. I look at both the managers. Who do I want managing this game? Yes, I felt like what Inter cooked up, what Inzaghi, what they did in the first leg was brilliant. They will have to, I'm saying this again, they will have to do, you have to look at it, because the way they scored their goals, the way they executed tactically, the way they were playing out on the counter, guys, Inter Milan, for what it's worth and for their personnel against Barca, they played almost perfect, I felt like, in the first leg. You know, they really could have walked out of there 4-3. They will have to do that because this game is tied on aggregate. They will have to do that the same or better to win this. Most likely better, because they will have to get an advantage. I don't see that happening. I just don't. I don't think it's going to happen. Who knows? Barcelona plays psycho. We could see a scenario where the Inter crowd is behind them. Barca, you know, defensively, they're missing some players. They're running the high line, and they go down like 2 or 3-0 in the first 20 minutes. We could see that, because that's how Barcelona plays. But I'm not going to bet against them from what I've seen this season. Hansi Flick throwing it all on the line with the tactics. I'm going final score, Barcelona 3-2. I'm only saying that not because of the first leg, but because Inter have scored a lot in the recent few games, and I don't think Barcelona is going to slow down scoring. Okay, that's the first game. Barcelona's my first finalist. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, PSG is my second finalist. We said this in a round of 16. I'm not going against it now. I'm not going against it now. And to be honest, I thought the result in leg 1 for Arsenal was killer. I know they're only down 1 goal. PSG, Paris, it's a tough place to play. I think PSG is going to be really up for it. They are definitely the more healthy team. You can see based on the injuries. And Arsenal over the weekend. Oh my God, Arsenal over the weekend, man. What happened, man? So they now have lost 2 games in a row. You're telling me with a 1-goal disadvantage, I'm going to predict Arsenal to go to Paris in that atmosphere? Nah. I'm not predicting that. I'm not predicting that. And I think PSG could have had a couple more in the first leg. I think they will find the killer mentality. And look, let's be data-driven. Let's be analyzing what we've seen. Is PSG, even though Arsenal's defense is probably the best in the world at minimizing goals conceded, is PSG really only going to score 1 goal again? I don't think so. I'm saying PSG 2. I'm struggling to really see too much for Arsenal here, because I feel like, for what I've seen from Arsenal in the first leg, they just are struggling. You know, they look at the Real Madrid, right? They did really well with getting the first leg set pieces, you know, and then, you know, Real Madrid's overcommitting. They're sitting. Arsenal's going to have to play a little out of style here. They're not going to be able to sit as much. Not that they do that on the level of Inter. But look, I just struggle to see a way here for Arsenal. I know I could end up, you know, getting put on an edit, because we know what we've seen with the if Mbappe lands in Madrid edit. Like, I know what you guys are saying, but it's no disrespect to the Arsenal fans. I just think PSG are too good. The quality they play at and the fact that they're going home with an advantage. I would look at this entirely differently if Arsenal had a 1-goal advantage, because we've seen Arsenal being able to get results in that position. Again, Arsenal still have not conceded 3 or more goals in a really long time. This could be the exception of years of that stat, because they're going to have to chase it at some point, and they will overcommit. But still, I think I'm going to go 2-1 PSG. I think PSG will advance by 2 goals on aggregate in this one, so that is what I'm going to lock in. So I'm saying 3-2 Barca, 2-1 PSG. I hope my predictions are right. I really do, because that would be a lot of goals and a lot of fun this week. I think we're going to try to do watch-alongs for these. Get in the comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking about these games. You know, at the end of the day, wow, if we would have a PSG-Barcelona final, guys, I'm going to be honest, I think it would be one of the best Champions League finals we have had in a really, really long time. My last Champions League final that I really was mad that we didn't get to see fans at was Bayern versus PSG in 2020. You know, we got to see Neymar, Mbappe, you know, versus that lethal Bayern team. Like, it's not too often that we see Champions League finals with this level of excitement. Honestly, guys, I think if PSG and Barca do get to the final, I think it's 2 of the best footballing teams we've had in the Champions League final ever. I'm serious. The way these 2 teams play football, it's like, you know, with how tactically and how everything is going with the modern game of football, to watch these 2 teams play, it's amazing. It's a treat. So I'm rooting for it. I don't have any of these favorite teams. I don't have biases. It's just what I've seen. It's what I've watched. And maybe I'll get a prediction right this week. Hopefully we can see these 2 teams advance. I think we're at a spot, though, with the 4 teams remaining, that I'm not going to be mad if any team gets to the final. And I'm going to explain what I mean. We've had other years where teams have made a run, like Dortmund, or, you know, what are other good examples of teams that got to the final? Look, Inter, I'm not going to say Inter, because I think they could have actually beat Man City in that game. But we have seen teams get to the final where they make an upset run, they have a more favorable bracket, and they've got no chance. The fact of the matter is, I think all 4 teams remaining would have a chance to win no matter who they were playing. So I'm not going to be disappointed if one of my choices is not right. Let's see what happens, and thanks for watching, guys. Peace.